Hi everyone, so here's my video on constructivism, or I'm sorry, my story. I'm going to read it first and then I'm going to explain a little bit about the background on it and why I chose this. So it says, Jack goes to Washington. Chapter 1, Jill meets Jack. It was a sunny, carefree Saturday, perfect for catching butterflies and riding bikes into town. Jack went over to meet his friend Jill to see what adventures she had planned for this day. Jill always had some crazy adventure plan, like staking out the river to catch a glimpse of the elusive Loch Ness monster. Jack found Jill on her front porch with posters scattered on the floor. She was so intent on writing something with the smelly markers that she didn't notice Jack. Hey, Jill, what are you doing with those posters? Jack asked. Jill looked up startled and slightly annoyed. Jack, don't you see I'm busy working on my campaign? Jill replied. Jack had no idea what Jill was talking about, but not quite surprised. Jill was always up to something, and he always expected some far-out crazy answer because, well, that was Jill. Are you running for class rep, Jill? Asked Jack. Jill looked at Jack, feeling a little exasperated that he was keeping her from her project, but she figured she might as well take her time and explain to him what she was doing, or he would not give her a moment's peace. Well, it's like this, Jack. I'm working on my campaign for President of the United States. Really? But Jack was about to say something, and Jill interrupted him impatiently. Jack, have you not heard there are elections coming up, and you're taking up my time for my campaign? She knew then she was going to spend the rest of the afternoon explaining to Jack all about constructivism, transfer of learning, and situated learning. Of course, that's not what she actually called it, but essentially, that's how it all began. Chapter 2. Jack learns about Bistown. So on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, Jack explained, Jill explained how her dream of being a president of the United States was born. You see, Jill is in fifth grade. All fifth grade classes in her town go on a field trip to a mini city in which students learn how the real world works. Students are the citizens and they can work in any of the 21 businesses in Biztown. Wow, Jack said, impressed. You mean you can choose to be a banker or work at a real Jack in the Box? Can I get free hamburgers? Jill looked at him impatiently, thinking, why am I hanging out with this fourth grader? I'm way too mature for this kid. Oops, I misspelled too. That should be 200. Jack, it's more complicated than that, she said. So Jill yet again took a deep breath and explained how the process of constructivism, transfer of learning, and situated learning began at Biztown. Not in those words, of course, but you get the hang of it. Before any student can go to Biztown, they spend 4 weeks in the classroom, learn what it means to be a citizen. I learned about voting and how we elect officials that make decisions for our town, state, and country, Jill explains to Jack. This is also how we learned about taxes and how they are used to pay for roads and schools. Our teacher asked us to think about what kinds of services we thought taxes paid for and list them in order of what we thought was important. Jill told Jack her teacher put them in groups and each picked a service like law enforcement and schools, and they had to debate why taxes were important for those services in their town. So I put in parentheses there that the processes here were critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and meaningful context collaboration. Jill added, we also learned how to price items, services, and goods like gasoline, groceries, clothing, and we had to put a tax on all those things and get a total. Once we did this, we had to learn how to write a check. Jack told her. Thank goodness you were paying attention in math. Prior knowledge. Jill told Jack to wait while she ran into her house quickly. When she came out, she showed Jack what looked like checks and a banking book. He only knew what they were because he had seen both his parents working on this at the table. For some reason, they never looked too happy. Jill also had a book with charts. See this, Jack? In class, our teacher showed us a chart of how our economy works. It's called the flow chart. You wouldn't know this because you're a fourth grader. Anyway, we made a list of our town's economy, like logging and Mr. Howard's hardware store, near and far, transfer analogies and metaphors. Wow, Jack was certainly impressed, but he still didn't understand what that had to do with Jill wanting to be president. Well, said Jill, after learning the different types of economies and jobs, we had to decide what jobs we wanted to have when we got to Bistown. I chose mayor of Bistown. That's how I learned about government. Before any student decides on a job, they are required to choose a profession and write a resume. So, as Jack said, it's not only great Jill learned her math well, she also needed some good writing skills to persuade her teacher she was the best candidate for mayor. She also had explained how she would improve the economy of Bistown to help with this. So explicit learning, analogies and metaphors, generalization, learning math, learning English, and then transferring that to write her resume. So we go to Bistown, situated learning. Jill was really enjoying teaching Jack about Bistown. She told Jack, "So, Jack, are you ready to find out what happened at Bistown?" "Oh, yes, tell me already. So, did you get to be mayor of Bistown?" Jill looked at him with a satisfied smile. "Well, of course, Jack. Once we all got to Bistown, everyone went to their place depending on their career choice. I went to City Hall and later had to give a welcome speech." She told Jack how the post office personnel had to process mail from all the other businesses like the bank, real estate agency, and deliver. The stores had to price goods and sell. Everyone knew their jobs just like they had practice in school, and they even had to exchange checks and go to the bank. Situational learning here. Jack looked at Jill and said, "I can't wait to go to Bistown now that you taught me so much about it," he added. "You know, Jill, I just got an idea. I think it would be good if all our elected officials in Washington could go to Bistown." Jill thought, this kid can actually come up with some good ideas sometimes. Anyway, I got the idea of writing about Bistown because to me that was the perfect example. Well, let me give you a little background on that. I've done 2 long terms working in a fifth grade classroom, and all of our fifth grade San Diego students, most every fifth grader in San Diego gets to go to Bistown. Prior to going there are at least like 4 weeks where you teach your students important skills such as banking, how to write checks, how to balance a checkbook. We teach them about the economy, how goods are priced. There are flow charts and there are actual documents like banking checks. And a lot of English and math skills come into play. So sometimes prior to doing the checking, we do practicing of like our decimal points and also, of course, the resume writing for deciding on what profession you want to do when you go to Bistown. It's important because a lot of people might want to be mayor, a lot of people might want to be in banking. And so based on that, the teacher chooses at the end who's going to have what job when they get to Bistown. There is it's a 4 weeks of a lot of preparation, but it's a lot of fun. The students do group work. We try to use prior knowledge based on our own town, our own economy, try to relate it to real world situations or anything that we might have learned prior in class. So I think that encompasses a lot of the constructivism theories. And so that's why I wrote this story. So anyway, thank you.